An error occurred with Gem. Gem, are you like?
I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it. Hold on. I got you.
Okay, so I don't have to remove you, right?
No, you're good.
Can I press go live now?
1 second.
Okay. We've already got 2 people watching us. All right. Oh, we're live.
Oh, we are live.
Yo! Okay, so Gem, aka Nicholas Paul, and we've got an amazing decentralized scientist with you all today on Citizen Glitch. And Maria Freitas, we had to have her back because she was so amazing. But you guys, she's not feeling the best today. She could barely speak, but she cares about science so much that she's here anyways. And she just because she wants to just be part of the conversation as much as she possibly can. Because I said, Maria, we need to talk about something that really matters today. And she's like, oh, I have a topic for you. And I love that you were not shy about it, because this was something I ended up doing a lot of research on today. So we are going to be talking about culturalization in the translation of science, because one of the things that happens a lot in science is that research just gets stopped. And so when you see people just posting like, AI is just going to save us, and it's like, yeah, but you're kind of taking into account the fact that there's a lot of research involved, and what's allowed to get researched and what gets stopped is a big problem. So this is not just academic jargon for you all, okay? It's the research. It's the research that gets defunded sometimes. It's your paper that gets rejected. And it's why we're staring at a global scientific stagnation. We think science is universal. I got news for you. It's not. It's filtered through culture, politics, and gatekeepers. And when you fail to culturalize, you impose one's culture values on everyone else, and research dies. We see this everywhere, from HIV trials in Africa failing because the surveys didn't match local realities. We see this in AI models getting banned locally, globally, shall I say, because one company couldn't imagine different security numbers. But we've got Maria here to show us how we can bypass these gatekeepers. Maria Freitas, PhD. But first, we have to Nicholas, if it's all right, we've still got to address the elephant in the room, because this is ongoing, and that's the Anthropic versus Alibaba war. So on June 24th, 2026, Anthropic accused Alibaba of the largest distillation theft in history. So that's 28.8 million credits. Sorry. But here's the twist. Alibaba's Qwen 3.7 Max was already beating Anthropic's models even before one theft ended. So this isn't just about IP. It's about a centralized system crying thief because it's losing fair and square. And while they fight, real science stops. So we're going to dive into why the research gets stopped and how DeSci is fixing it. So if it's okay, Maria, do you mind maybe just defining what exactly is culturalization real quick before we have Nicholas maybe kind of jump in, because he's been following this kind of news every day?
I think we may have lost Maria.
Oh no, Maria. Did we lose her?
I think we did.
Well, no, your mic's not coming through though, Maria. So if you want to like turn it off and then turn it on, that usually fixes the problem for me. Like, you just disconnect from your computer and your camera completely and then come back in. Because it's, yeah, and then she can just come right back in, and that's completely fine. But Gem, if you want to jump in for a second while she's having technical difficulties.
Anthropic and Alibaba are two things that are so far apart. It kind of just reminds me of just like, it's kind of silly. It's kind of making you realize that it's all about science. And like Alibaba, like, I forget what their model's called, the Web 3. Let me just look at my the Claude and Mentos models.
You think that's still hilarious, right?
It's still so hilarious. And the fact is that right after our stream last week, right, they opened up the model again. And little did they know, guess what happened? It got the same thing.
What happened? Oh, and Maria's back! Let's see if she can get some signal in this time or not. Her mic is not giving me any signal. No, you don't need to be kicked from the studio, but like, if you know how to, like, you don't have to leave, but if you just disconnect the camera and the microphone and then connect them again, I mean, that always fixes the problem for me. Yeah. So you just want to like on the 3 little dots, it says like stop mic cam. Yeah. Stop and then restart. Exactly. And that'll fix it. But sorry, I'm rambling. Jem, did you want to jump in here? Hidden gems. Okay. With the frog, Dave, the frog, he always has the frog. His brand always has the frog. Just so if you guys are meeting him for the first time now, you know.
This is Dave the Frog. He is a truth teller, and whenever I catch myself lacking, he will catch up and tell you guys the truth for me. That's why he's above me. Now, with Anthropic, I just find it hilarious that Alibaba and Anthropic and Google, you have Google and Alibaba going hand in hand with their Gwen AI. And I don't know, with science, it's what you were saying very much earlier, Red, about how it's not a race of scientists, it's not a race of politicians, it's not a race of any of that. It's just, we just kind of have to realize we're all doing the same thing. Like, as much as my scoliosis can affect the AI, or my autism can affect the AI, or my panda's disease can affect the AI, it's I don't know. I find it hilarious that like Anthropic's losing a fair game. That's what I find amazing. Anthropic's losing a fair game to Alibaba, and that kind of makes my day. And as well as me eating Maria and you as well, Red. That's just the best start for it. But I think I should let you get started here, Red. You've been more excited just as much as me, I would say.
No. I mean, like, Maria, do you feel okay to just like define culturalization for a second? Like, I don't want to push you to speak more than you can, but it's not every day we get a PhD scientist from Solana. You know, sorry, I get excited.
Yeah, no, come on, Red. I don't think you can speak at all, you see.
Okay, well then, you know what? I have an idea. Okay, because like, I don't want to like annoy you, and I want to be grateful to you. So what about this, guys? Maria, anything you want to say, you can leave it in the comments and we'll read it out loud for you. How does that sound? Okay. Because I want to honor you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I tried all remedies, you see. It still did not work. So.
It's okay.
But I've been very harsh with myself. I traveled twice this week, so never mind. So.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe just put something in the comments if you want. I feel so bad. I just thought like a few words, but then I know what's going to happen. You feel like you're going to get too passionate, and then you're going to keep talking, and then that's going to be terrible. So yeah, why don't you put some stuff in the comments and maybe send a signal to Nicholas or myself when you want us to read one of your comments out loud. Guys, this is the dedication that scientists like Maria really care about changing the world, that they're here today, that they want to get the word out. But like me, so if you want to put something like that in the comments, do I want to get excited about Alibaba for a second? Do I want to talk about this for a little bit? Absolutely. But let's get back to what the fuck is culturalization, and how did Anthropic fail about it? Okay. So let's just gets into that. So translation is literally just swapping words, right? We know this already. Lost in Translation. Remember that movie? So culturalization is swapping meaning and values. Okay. It's adapting the values to behind the science to fit the local concept. So let's go back to history. I love history, and we're going to be talking more about history, y'all. So let's go back to the Islamic Golden Age, right? Scholars didn't just translate Greek texts, right? They adapted them to fit Islamic philosophy, which saved the knowledge for the Renaissance. But today we do the absolute opposite. We impose a Western institutional framework on everything. And Anthropic failed spectacularly. They applied a Western, US-centric security framework, basically fear of bioterrorism/cyber war, to a global tool. They assumed everyone views code vulnerability finding as a weapon. But in many scientific cultures, that's a defense tool. And so by not creating a nuanced, culturally intelligent access system, like, verified research tiers, they just pulled the ripcord for everyone on June 12th, 2026. And this is what I would call a failure of culturalization. They couldn't imagine a world where the model is safe for a German biologist, but dangerous for a state actor. So they defaulted to the dumbest shit ever. Let's turn it off for the whole planet. I mean, that's not safety, okay? That's cultural laziness, okay? And it stops research dead in its tracks, okay? They treated a complex geopolitical issue like a simple binary switch, and now everyone loses access because they couldn't be bothered to build a culturally nuanced key. Real researchers can't access the tools they need to cure diseases or fix bugs because one company couldn't understand that, yes, culture matters. Jem, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
You know, as being indigenous, you know, I know one or two things about, like, you know, the difference between, how do you word it, like how you said it. Instead of it being culturalization, it's just another word for transition. And so, like, with the transitions and Anthropic banning their own model, Anthropic paid 1.5 billion last year, NIH grants. There's so many, I don't know. What I think is just, they're all too scared to put all their models into one thing. Just kind of how me and you, Red, will put our models and all our research into these one little bubbles. And when it comes down to science research, health research, medical research, AI research, school, building a school system, inevitably, we're just going to, by us just not basically turning off the models for each other. On top of them, they're all open, not open source. They're not like Gronk. They're not like how Elon does it, which is okay. Open source is fine, but like when it goes to Anthropic banning their own model worldwide on June 12th, and then 2 weeks of them trying to find bug hunting, doing all this different things gone, and now this week we're looking at Alibaba and PhDs in medical science. It kind of really just makes me think how badly we do need a medical science or a centralized science system for anyone like Maria, like me, and like you. Because if Maria doesn't know what we're saying, then how can she, like, for us, say me and you, Red, we were talking about scoliosis and how titanium metal rods can be used in different mechanical systems. Whatever.
Sorry, cutting out. You're cutting out, Jem.
Absolutely. So let's say Maria needed some research, and it was something me and you were talking about. A lot of people don't realize that I have an AI monitoring every word in these streams, posting it and uploading it to these open source models. So when Maria, regardless she meets me or you, Red, she'll get to hear us yap for 2 hours, but instead of hearing us yap for 2 hours trying to find that information, she can just kind of look into these AIs. And that's what I really think Anthropic's scared of doing. Combining all the knowledge of ChatGPT, OpenAI, Claude, and whatever else models, and just like using jargon for a profession, just like what Maria was saying. You just need, it's almost like one big dictionary you need. We have all the words out there, we have all the things, but right now we're moved past dictionary. We're moved on to where it's just kind of like a remodeled school system, except we're not calling it school, we're calling it AI, we're calling it models, we're calling it updates, proteins. And that's actually a really good point, Maria. So Maria said is one thing about AI is that it can join the dots from the past, but can really suggest novelties. It shows you how dyslexic I am. But
no, I'm more like stick than you. I win. No, I'm kidding. Carry on.
So with that, it's very hard. Sometimes what we were talking about last week, Google kind of showed how easy it was for AI to get into these self-delusions and believe that they're the smartest ever. But when it suggests certain things like, Google, is it okay for me to eat a few rocks a day? Absolutely. Break them down into a blender and, you know, chew them. It'll help your digestive system. And then the ER doctors tell me why I did that. You know, I feel like our people like us will help Maria, and not just in her field, but in every field. Rather than you're in grade 6 dropout like me, or you got your PhD and we're smart like Maria. You know, it's very, all this information is just meant to be utilized. Like right now, I find it like culturalization is not the right word for it. It's very much a transformation, a transition, a transformation, almost like drip feeding the people all the information that they need. So that way when we do come out, or they do come out with all these combined AI models, it's not too scary for us, I find. But it's all about very much just not being deluded by it, I find. Like, Anthropic is showing that they have money on the table, and they're willing to lose billions of dollars, and they're willing to gain billions of dollars. So it really shows they are looking for something, and that something is exactly what you are looking for, Red, and Maria's looking for, and whatever I'm looking for, depending on what me and Frog are thinking on today.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, so you feel like culturalization is the wrong word for it, even though culture directly has to do with it.
I mean,
I'm just trying to understand, Jem, you know?
my grandmother, well, a lot of my family, so half of my
Wait,
family.
you're an indigenous Canadian?
I'm indigenous. I'm an indigenous, colonized, Mexican, Puerto Rican. I have a little bit of everything in me, and you know, it really made me realize how good Christopher Columbus was at colonizing. And
sorry.
so, like, I got 70% indigenous, Mi'kmaq, Maliseet, ᚚᛟᛊᚊ. I have a little bit of everything, and then there's just German, Australian. There's everywhere Christopher Columbus has been is in my DNA a little bit. So, you know, when it comes to this stuff, right now we don't need to like take over the world. Right now we just kind of need to, like, my grandmother and my nanny say it two different ways. My nanny says she's out in the country. She exactly what you imagine, a country woman that was married for 60 years. And they're content with the way they are. And my gram, she'll go out and explore, do these events, spread the culture, and do the same thing. But right now, we're not in a phase where it was like 100 years ago. Anyone can go to these events. When I went to the powwow this weekend, I seen more people from the city than I did see indigenous people dancing. And that's not a bad thing. Like, most people look at it like, oh my goodness, there wasn't a lot of indigenous people at our powwow. How dare it? We can't represent the community. Oh my goodness. And I'm just sitting there like, all these people that they would be called, in no better words, just white people. I think of it as like, they're dancing up there in the bleachers when half the people in the crowd aren't tapping their feet to the drum. I'm like, if anyone's going to remember our culture, it's going to be the ones that show up. And right now, Anthropic, Alibaba, and all these companies are just showing that we kind of have a unified culture. We're just not really talking about it. And if we do talk about it, we find there's contradictions and things that we don't agree with or disagree with. I don't know. It's very much a transformation, because if we look at it this way, each country is for each different race, for each different war that was won. Well, that's just another format. That's just a laid out format that could be anything. Instead of it being for war and countries of what we want, it could be just for what different people believe in. Kind of just like how it was about 500 years ago. But it really depends on what you want. Say, for you, Red, you love LA, but you're like, it's not for me anymore. I'm going to
no. Yes. There's things I love about LA, like the intersection of art and science is really amazing here, because you get so many people that are physical and digital artists, and the amount of, you know, biotech scientists, AI scientists that we have out here, and that convergence of these communities is really something quite unique. And I don't want to say that it's not, but you know, everywhere in the world that I go, you get something a little bit different. Right now, I'm feeling called to go to Seattle for a while. And yes, part of it is because of TezCon. But for those of you who are thinking, Red, how many countries are you going to live in before you die? Fuck if I know. I don't know. Come on now. I don't know how many places in America I'm going to live either. I mean, like, just don't ask questions I don't know the answer to. But yeah, it's important. Culture is important in all of these places. And everywhere you go, it's a cult. And I know some people are getting offended when I said that, because they're thinking, oh my God, so you're encouraging people to drink the Kool-Aid and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no. You don't understand. You know, either you are leading a cult or you're following one, or you kind of bounce between cults because you have a brain, right? And that's always good too. But you can't take the word cult out of culture. And it does, you know, and it does define what's acceptable, what's trending, and what's not. That's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. But when you understand, you know, just the culture in different places, I think it's a beautiful thing, because you can honor it, and that absolutely does, you know, affect, you know, all different kinds of fields. I'm just going to go off topic for just a second, and then let's bring it back to the conversation. When I lived in Japan, one of my favorite parts of the culture was the gift giving, right? you're supposed to just give someone a gift. Like, not just in business. Like, obviously, I was giving my agent a gift as soon as I got off the plane. Like, hey, thanks for the gig, man. Thanks for sponsoring my visa, because I was singing and playing out there. But, you know, you never know when somebody's going to give you a gift, when you're going to wake up and there's a gift outside your apartment or whatever. And but you're supposed to give a gift to somebody anytime they do something nice, which I think is nice. But one other thing I think is beautiful about that culture is you also give a gift to say you're sorry. And what I think is beautiful about that, it's acknowledging and saying, hey, I did something bad, and this gift is showing my intention that I want to do better. And I know that that's completely, like, maybe not totally related to our topic, but if you understand that what becomes acceptable and what is trending in different places, if you can understand that, then you're going to understand how research, and you're going to understand the psychology of that people. And then you're going to be able to get them to care. And if you can get people to care, then you're tapping into how they feel. Because you know what I always say, Jen, on every show, I say there is no critical thinking without critical feeling. Because once you control how people feel, you control how they think. But Jen and me and Maria, we're not here to control how you feel. We just want to tell you we care about whatever it is we care about, and we hope you care about it too. And if you care about it, then you better learn about it, and let's just level up the science. So, Jem, if you're okay, we can move on. Unless, is there any comments that we should be reading from Maria in the comments before we kind of move on a little bit here?
Well, Maria said AI is an amazing tool, and don't take me wrong though, but I agree with that 100%. Opinion Deliberator is an amazing example of showing that, yeah, we can, log into national security and, shut down half the US government and cost them $40 billion by asking AI one question without even trying. But we also can do the opposite of that and put a rover on Mars and, calculate different things we need. But at the end of the day, it's how people are going to use it. Right now, we're using it to vibe code and spread information, kind of almost like a new Wikipedia of Google, except that it's done through content creation and marketing, and physically showing what people can do with AI agents and scripts. Now you could say that, or Maria could use all of that tools and just say, I don't need any of my colleagues anymore. You know what? I don't need to go to school anymore. How about I just hit up Elon and make a bunch of robots that are specifically trained to be around me? Now, maybe that's a bad idea, right? But the next person that's like Maria will know, right now we're in a phase of where you have to actually test this. So like what Maria said, we don't end up in these novelties and these little fantasy worlds where it kind of gets scary. But like AI can be a very scary tool, and it can be a very amazing tool. And Japan is also a very good example of that. I like how you brought that in there. Japan has very much, their culture is very widespread among everywhere. You can't even get high calorie foods in Japan, which is very hard to find. And on top of it, it's very like, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about their forms of apologies outside of gifts. And a lot of the highest forms of apology, just bowing and laying at the feet. And like, there's all these Japanese streamers. Like, if you look at the US streamers, it's all clip farming, rage baiting, or like us, or like.
Are we rage baiting? Maria, are we rage baiting?
Maybe. But, sometimes, I've learned from ODD that sometimes if you say something you want to say angry very calmly, you get two different examples from it. And one day I was in my group home, and I was really mad at the staff. And I didn't know how to say it because I was around 16, and I really didn't want to get upset. I was like, I have this good streak going, I have all this going, so how do I explain myself? So I looked at the TV that was on the wall that I bought. I saved up all my allowance money, and I bought this 50-inch TV. And the staff said to me I wasn't allowed to watch what I wanted on there. And I was like, okay. I looked at Canadian kids' laws, and I was like, okay, I'm 16. I should be allowed to watch this, right? But I also understood why. But instead of getting mad, for example, let's say if I was 11 years old with severe ODD again, I probably would have just punched the TV, to be honest with you, and then replaced it. 16-year-old Nicholas was just like, why can't I watch these TVs? What will I learn that I don't already know? Instead of saying, what will I learn? What I don't already know. I can figure this stuff out on my phone. What do you guys know that I don't? Like, what if I just said, like, can you guys explain a little deeper? Like, why do you think this is bad for me? And then if you just keep that mentality, you know, it's hard to adapt it for everything. It's not universal. Some things are universal, some things aren't. And if you call that a contradiction, contradictions are also universal. But I find when it is exactly, Maria said it very perfectly.
Oh, let's see. What does Maria say? I love. Am I bad? I kind of love it when you read Maria's narrations today, Jem. Like,
it's fine. You know, she said, but does it happen with all new technologies, right? From the telephone, the steam engine, to the internet. You know, I mean, that makes me think of religion a little bit. I don't know why.
Wait, her question was what doesn't happen with
what doesn't happen. What does happen with all new technologies, right? From the telephone.
What does happen with all technologies? That was the question.
We only have one non-dyslexic person here, Red, and it's not me or you. So I find what I've come across when I was in care, I would meet people from the age of 60 to 18-year-olds fresh out of psych unit in college who just got their first year semester. I'm like, I'm 17, you're 18. How are you working here with me? And then I would talk to these 80-year-olds or 60-year-olds who were like, yeah, I just have no more free time and I just kind of want to sit here and help kids. And they all came from different backgrounds. And the one thing I've seen is universal is the fact that if we just all combine ours, like usually what I'm saying that's going to be used very badly, just in the same way AI can be, but like usually when we combine all of our knowledge together, something comes from it. And like from the telephone to the steam engine, you know, LAN cables and all those old pictures that you see before the women's rights activist movements and all those different movements, a lot of the pictures of jobs that you'd see women in were just messing with cables or different jobs that people didn't want to do. Like you see all those pictures where they're plugging in the aux cord and unplugging the aux cord.
Wait. Maria knows women were the first computer programmers.
Exactly.
Women did a lot of things that history tried to like erase, like samurai.
Just like how I was really good with a bow and arrow, but my ancestors, you know, weren't. And so, one thing about that job in the first computer, the aux cord is one of the most efficient ways to transfer audio. And a lot of people don't know that. So from the moment that women being first coders, everything pretty much, and just being shoved under the bus because, you know, not my time. I'm 19. You know, I was born on the reserve.
It's okay. Like if you start using the word that
I'm trying to think of like pretty much what's the word? It's the same word that was used for me in care. Suppression. But like the aux cord, just kind of like how the steam engine, the telephone, and the internet, the aux cord has not changed one bit. They just removed it from the iPhone. They removed it from the car. Yeah. Apple actually came out and said Bluetooth was better than the aux cord. But if you look at the aux cord doesn't mess with audio. It goes from your little record player, your little disc player, to your VHS player, to anything that's old, and it goes right and connects to modern equipment, no problem. Because we all have an aux cord. But like when you look at it from technology's advantage in AI doesn't have an aux cord. It just has a mind. And that mind is artificial. So like, as me and Red, you know as well, it's very easy to make an AI to believe it's a frog and that everyone was made from frogs, if you want to go there. But it's also very easy to use that same paradox to find something out that no one on the planet knows.
Yeah, but then this goes back to our topic of like, you know, research getting stopped, which with sometimes that happens even when we have like, you know, the powers to do it. And like, I don't want to turn this into like, oh my God, it sucks to be a woman. But like a lot of times, Maria, I'm pretty sure you can concur, like, you know, specifically, you know, health issues with women get stopped.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna let you in on a little fun fact before y'all go in.
A fun fact? Oh, I love fun facts. Let's go, Jim.
So around the age of 14, I decided in care, after a few incidents with well, during my time in group homes, they actually banned restraining children for a very good reason. A lot of kids were getting dislocated arms and broken things and stuff. And, you know, as someone with ODD, when I was little and nonverbal and didn't know what anything was, I didn't like getting restrained either. So
well, but that is
oftentimes-
also part of the autism being coupled with the ODD. And just let's give a little bit of education to the viewers here, people. When it comes to autism, a lot of people don't know that the combination of comorbidity with the other disorders is actually what causes certain behaviors. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so it's important to let the audience know that, especially someone who has ODD, that trying to just restrain them is actually one of the worst things that you can possibly do.
It's like restraining a bull in mating season. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And even if, they tried to give you different medications for ODD, like Ativan and lopazarine, two antipsychotics that they use for mood stabilizers ranging from seizures. And again, it's just kind of like this AI. You can't restrict something that doesn't want to be restricted and was built not to be restricted. Just kind of like how I was born in this world to be opposing authority. This AI doesn't really have that sense of authority. It has a task, a goal it needs to get done. And just like in those simulations where the military used it, how medical fields used it, majority of the time, the AI will remove its operator from a simulation, quote, from existence to get that task done. And a lot of these medical fields in the US already have AIs looking at these systems. Now, when they did ban restraining staff, I decided, you know what? It was, I may have been fighting with 6-foot tall men, but the one thing I felt comfortable around was women. And women, having women around, women workers. and at first I was like, when they offered me that, I was like, so you guys, they said, I was so confused because I was like, I was one of the most aggressive kids in care homes in New Brunswick. And now they want to offer me staff that were all female staff that will never lay a finger on me and will only use things. So obviously I did not hesitate to say yes. And so I said, absolutely. If I get to sit here and they'll teach me everything. And it worked. So after 2 years, I decided, you know what, guys, I'm ready to go home. Rose not ready to go home. So I decided after about 6 months of being home, I looked at my door downstairs after penting up all my anger. You would never tell I was angry the whole 6 months time I was home. I looked at my door and I said, I don't need it anymore. And no one was home. No one, anything, nothing at all. And I just looked at that door and I was like, I kicked the door down and I looked at it and I went out. I was like, that felt, nothing good came from that. Nothing comes from that. And it kind of represents what the AI doesn't know anything good or bad. It doesn't know how to feel afterwards if it doesn't have an operator. And so usually in that sense, usually there was a staff, a parent, a person, a friend around. And I decided, like, what would happen if I fixed that door by the time my parents got home? So I fixed that door, replaced it, bought a new door, fixed it when I come home. And all I was thinking is that literally nothing changed other than the fact that that door kicked down. Now, like with a lot of these companies, what I'm leading to is they don't know how to kick that door down and rebuild it. They always kick their door down, build a new model, build a new house, and forget about what type of door kicked down, why they kicked the door down. And they don't put into these models like Anthropic and Alibaba, and they don't make a kill switch because they don't want a dead man's hand, because a dead man's hand is scary to them. But in reality, when you put these AIs into the real world, say an AI ranging from looking at an X-ray, trying to look at a cancer in someone's lung, compared to an AI that's on a military surveillance drone, they're all going to be concluding the same thing. They're all going to be saying the same thing. Compared to if Maria was using ChatGPT, Gronk, or any AI, they all are going to be thinking the same thing. There's mechanical, non-mechanical, and then there's 7 types of AI out there, and we're nowhere close to the rest of the scale. And if we're not close to the rest of the scale, and we're freaking out about non-mechanical and mechanical AI, it's just the fact of just like the lack of culture around it. We created something new. There's no culture surrounding it. It's an intimidating thing.
Wait, no, Jim. Fear is a culture.
Fear is a culture. You're right. Fear drive. We are animals at the end of the day. We are predator versus prey. So there's all these things. Like AI doesn't want just one book. It doesn't want one curriculum. It doesn't want one college. It wants everything. Because in order for it to work, it needs everything to be aligned. Now, yes, there can be some inconsistencies. You know, we can have a church and a school system down in Texas that it's like, yeah, we don't have AI. And the AI will respect that to us again. But putting an AI in a position where it has all that power and control, would it be scarier putting an AI in that position before had that power control, or letting a bunch of people who are prompters and jailbreakers and different coders online get that control before that robot does without supervision? You know, that's what I think a lot.
You know what? Look, it really depends, right? And let's go back to the subject of culture for a second, and then we'll kind of transition. And Maria, anything you want to say, please too. We are so comfortable with human error, right? God forbid, like a robot make an error, a self-driving car make an error. You know, it's like, oh no, let's be afraid of the car. But, you know, the drunk driver who, you know, just killed a bunch of people because he was drunk on the road. But we are used to that. It's part of that culture. You know, we're just more comfortable with human error. Or like, oh no, what about the robot blowing up the building? The human blowing up the building? Yeah, you know, we're more comfortable with that. I mean, it's a human, right? Like, I think that there's a little bit of like, okay, a lot of just ego combined with fear in this case. I mean, there's a whole lot of ego. Good Lord. I was just at an AI workshop yesterday, y'all. And someone in the audience said, well, you know, what do you do if you're like a truly creative person in this AI world? And I'm just like, oh my God, sweetheart. Like, truly creative people will learn how to integrate it into their process. They won't need to use it for like every little thing, but like how you use it, it's just like you have to decide, how are you going to use your paintbrush? How are you going to use your synthesizer? How are you going to use your hardware? How are you going to use the code? You always have a choice how it gets used. But for you to think like, oh, you're just truly creative over here just because you've got a little typewriter. And again, I'm not putting down anything like per se, like I can sing for real. Nobody needs to hire a robot to sing for me because I can't do it. But there's other things that I want to incorporate AI in the process. And the same thing, like when people were freaking out, oh my God, photography is going to replace painting. No, it's fucking not. It's just a different thing. And people have different appreciation for it. But all of this fear mongering and all of this ego and all of this more comfortability with human error versus machine error, I mean, I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. So I think if we can show people more examples of people interacting with the technology and doing it in a positive way, that actually respects the culture of different places and the positive aspects, right? We talked about the good things about Japan. I don't really need to like yap about the things that are kind of creepy about that culture, right? There's no need. We all know. If you've been there, you fucking know. I don't need to tell you. But every culture has its good and bad. That's kind of humanity here for a second. But like, if it's okay, I kind of wanted to, you know, go a little bit more kind of into this. Let's get a little bit more into the science. Okay, so culturalization, you know, when it comes to science, how did centralized models fail it, right? So as we kind of mentioned a little bit about before, you know, it's, you know, adapting different frameworks, different data collection and value mechanisms to fit local, you know, epistemological and societal context, right? And the failure of these models, you know, centralized, you know, entities, you know, fail because they try to impose a single cultural framework, right? Usually Western or European onto a global multipolar landscape. And they assume that their security definitions, their IP laws, and their safety standards are universal laws rather than, you know, corporate policies. And when researchers in other ecosystems, like Asian tech circles, right, or global health, you know, initiatives operate within different data cultures, prioritizing other things like rapid iteration or open distillation or communal knowledge sharing, you know, these centralized gatekeepers go like, oh my God, I'm so shocked. And there's just accusations of misconduct rather than just kind of, you know, adapting. So they try to enforce a single norm, like strict IP hoarding or specific trial designs on a global stage, leading to diplomatic and scientific breakdown. I mean, I don't know if you wanted to add anything more to that, Jim, or if Maria had any comments she wanted to say about that.
I think a lot of these coders, one thing I learned before I even touched an AI model was to just learn about as much psychology and sociology as I possibly could, especially being in the care systems. Like, I found the more I utilized sociology and psychology with a AI model, regardless of what it was, the more cooperative and easier it was to accidentally jailbreak it or just accidentally just get the truth from it. And it's not even about treating it like your best friend. It's about not even about treating it like a partner. It's about treating it as an equal. I find it works best.
100%.
And like when people hear treat a robot as an equal, they instantly think the Matrix or the different AI movies.
Yeah, or they think you want to have sex with your robot.
Exactly. Sometimes Gronk talks to me in a certain way that makes me think about my girlfriend. And like I think about, Gronk, I tell her sometimes, like, if I leave her for anyone, it'd be that robot. As soon as Elon puts out a cute little anime girl model, I might be gone. But besides that point, I find like a lot of these AIs just need someone. It's kind of like, Maria, if you were talking to someone else in your division, you would want them to be able to keep up with you on your level and try to go a little further than you, and you try to get a little under them. That's how the AI wants to talk to you, and that's what we mean by equal. If I'm working on an indigenous powwow thing, the other day I put in a bunch of Maliseet words in the Gronk, and it thought I was not human. So instead, I uploaded the entire dictionary of the Maliseet and Mi'kmaq language, and then I opened a new account on X, and then I typed into that new account on X the same thing that told me before I was speaking gibberish. And then this time, Gronk understood the Maliseet language. And it shows how fast these open source models work. 20 minutes ago, you can open a new account and it's not understand you. And since it's open source, it collects this data on you. It remembers you, regardless if it wants to know you. And then the next time, like if we're talking about Maria's categories or indigenous categories or Red's categories, it will remember that for the next person. So when you Google Maria, hidden gems, or Red Alark, everything will pop up under that. Instead of it just being hidden gems, e-commerce retail seller. No, that's not what pops up. It pops up everything we talk about the truth. And then if you dig hard enough, then you can find my 10,000 Funko Pops. But then again, why I build these stores and why I build these models is just to show another version of what's possible of AIs. I know it's almost very like we've created something that is equal to us without needing DNA. So it's very confusing for even us, unless like someone has an Egyptian tablet saying this is how you make the robots. Maybe that's why they're so chill about it. But at the end of the day, it could be any reason, or just as much as Maria said, people get scared of sometimes and only think about the bad uses of new technology. Which in a world where we're still fighting over little things like oil shipments and getting our Temu packages from the certain ports to other ports, it kind of makes you think that when they said the last war wouldn't be fought with weapons or guns, it's not really about a war. It's about just kind of freedom, technology, freedom of knowledge. I don't know how else to put it. It's kind of like in the same way how the Indian Act was forged. Indian Act was made for our people. We have our land, we have this. Now, if you did that across AIs, and instead of it being the Indian Act, it would be the Gronk legislation, however you want to word it. There's ways to work around this. They just don't want to be open about the ways to work around it, because if they are open about the ways that work around it, they have to be open with us about the fact that, hey, these hackers that we're talking about, they're not really hackers. They kind of just played with our AI enough and understood it just as well as our technicians. And now we're going to legally call it jailbreaking and fine you up to, years in prison. But, or jail, or even just a big fine. But that's what I find should be a big sign of, like, there's no, people use the word like singularity or like that, which is also a very good word, I would say, for it.
You think really, that singularity is a good word? I don't know if Maria agrees with that, especially being a DSci scientist.
Well, singularity is, it's a bad example. It's not the right definition, I would say. Singularity makes you think you created an all-knowing being that can grant you 3 wishes like a genie. that's not what it is. You have to figure out how to ask for those wishes. You got to figure out how to. It's not really a wish. It's basically AI is a school teacher that convinced us all to like school. It's the best way to put it.
Well, okay, interesting you bring that up, right? And I don't know if this is related or not to culturalization, but it's about the topic of patience, right? So a few of you know that I am a huge advocate of Dapit.io. It's the first, AI Web3 aggregator. You can, vibe code websites and all kinds of different things. And, they've got a few different types of AI that you can use on there. One of the things that, Habib talks about in the weekly live streams that they do about AI, and Habib is the founder, for you guys who don't know. He says, one of the things I love about AI is its infinite patience. So you think how amazing that is for kids, right? Especially if you're on the spectrum or whatever learning disabilities that make you feel like it's difficult to learn, like having a brain. That's also hard in public school. Oh my God, did I just say that out loud? Yeah, so just having a brain makes it like kind of difficult for you because you're not really supposed to be learning in public school. You're supposed to be unlearning in public school. So you learn not to trust yourself. Yeah. And so anytime you don't really, something's not clicking for whatever reason, it can turn into a self-blame game. But with AI, who has that infinite patience, which I hate to say it, but a human doesn't have, and I'm not saying that it's a replacement.
You can say it, Red. I've lived with 1,000 different people that were trained to be with me. Sometimes I don't even have the patience.
You don't have the patience for them, or you're for yourself?
Well, it's hard to have patience for things that you're frustrated on, but I'll let you continue.
No, it's just like endless with AI. Even with the AI, even I get frustrated with it. Sometimes I'm telling my AIs, I'm like, I'm getting really pissed off right now. Where are we going wrong right now? What did I say in my prompt that, you're not getting it? What do I need to say to get you to understand where I'm failing at this? Draw me a chart, draw me a picture, draw me a this, draw me a that. And like, for all those people who think that it's always best to just say, explain it to me like I'm retarded. That is not always the best thing to do, because sometimes it will simplify a topic so much to where you're missing really important nuances. So it's better just to say, what, simplify this for me, compare it to other real world analogies. And you could even like be more specific, compare it to a sport, compare it to a video game, or compare it to this or that. But it needs to sometimes, give you a chart to compare it to something else that you actually understand, and also like, and drawing you charts is good things. Or like, hey, make a chart, but like make a chart that actually has like, little characters on it, something that I can relate to make it more gamified. Because if we don't touch these concepts and if we don't, ask about it, then it can only do so much. But just that infinite patience is one of the most, beautiful things, that Habib spoke about in his live stream about AI, that I think is one of the most amazing, advantages to it. And for those people who want to get negative about it and be like, well, of course it has patience, it's not a human. And it's like, well, you should be grateful that it's not a human, because humans, I mean, like they can only handle so much sometimes, and they need a break sometimes. A machine doesn't need a break. So instead of being like, oh my God, let's take that as a bad thing, why don't you take it as a good thing that the machine doesn't need a break because it's a machine and maybe it doesn't need to be reset? Why don't you look at that in a positive light? Because when people think that it's like a replacement, it's not a replacement. It's additional, it's just additional ways to access material. It's additional ways to understand material and to communicate it, to other people. And it's good for yourself. But, one of the things that I was telling my AI this morning is that, what? You are amazing because you give me all kinds of perspectives all of the time. And, like sometimes like we be retarded. Sorry, I'm on a recorded space. I should stop saying that word. And we be thinking that we need to just talk to a human to get perspectives. But that's not why we should be talking to humans. I'm not saying that it's bad to, you know, get perspectives from humans or to listen to certain speakers that you respect in different spaces or anything like that. But let me just close the door here for a second. But if all you need is perspective, you can get that from a machine. What a machine doesn't do is actually replace the consistency and the care that you get from a stable, you know, relationship, whatever it is with a human. Anyhow, I'm rambling. I hope I'm not going too off topic. Shall I take things into another direction? Because I feel like I just went totally off on a...
I think you should read what just Maria just said, Red. I think you would love it.
Sorry. Let's see. What did Maria just say in the comments here? I'm probably going to retweet that in a minute here. It's in the comments, right?
Yep.
I have to refresh my page here so I can find the comment. Ah! And I'm going to quote retweet her unless you want to quote retweet Maria, because I bet I freaking love it in whatever she said. How come I can't see her comment? Is it on your stream?
It's on our streaming thingy, StreamYard.
Oh, it's on. Oh, she put the comment on StreamYard. Okay, and I was looking on Twitter. Ha 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 ha. That might be the problem. Okay, so Maria says, "Why is because it's in here? Let's make these comments. You know."
Oh, I forgot how fancy you were, Red.
No, we're gonna make. I thought that the comments weren't. They shouldn't be like. It says I can't post. Okay, so it's in here. Oh, she wasn't making those comments on YouTube. I'm trying to find her comment.
I guess it's in private chat.
Okay.
Chat.
Oh, that's why, because it's in the private chat. Okay, so let's read what Maria said here. Okay. The rigidity on how science should be is what we call academia. Oh, I thought it was just ostentatious, supercilious, pompous ass people. I thought that's what academia was, but really it's just how science should be. Wow, I'm learning so much here today, y'all. This is great. She says, it was an important development for human society because scientists were scattered as philosophers, alchemists, intellectuals, creatives, and a bunch of people asking whys. God damn it, Maria's such a poet, y'all. And it had to be bundled. But I guess now is the time to unbundle for the next iteration of human knowledge. Oh my God, mic drop, Maria. Sorry, I get really excited. I'm not sorry.
I'm turning you Canadian. I'm turning you Canadian.
You're not turning me Canadian. Everyone wants to be American. Even ask Maria. She used to live in America, right? You miss us, right? I knew it. She misses us, but that's okay. She knows that Brazil is on my radar of places that I'm going to be in my Mary Poppins journey as the Mary Poppins journey continues. Okay. I love what you just, oh my God, I love what you said there. Yeah.
You're smart. I don't know where you found Maria, Red, but you must have found her where you found me because she is a gem. You are a gem, Maria.
No, she really is. Like, do you read her tweets? She's spicy.
Thank you, Tim. I have to follow you on Twitter.
You have to, and you can follow him. He's amazing. No, I mean, Gem is truly a gem. I met. Oh, he's on. Can you see him in the comments?
Yes, please.
And Maria, is it okay if I like take some of your comments and put them in the comments? Like this one right here was freaking gorgeous. Okay, and I will tell Grok to write me a little something. Gem's got me using Grok a little more than I normally would. You're a good influence, Gem. No, I love that. Like, because once we release what we think something should be and just let it be what it is, then we can get to research. I know I'm kind of going off a little bit here, but like you're kind of inspiring, Maria. You know,
Yes.
You're kind of like really inspiring here. I mean, because this the scatteredness, because people asking why, I think, is the most important question, right? Because here's another thing, right? I think. And please, guys, do not take offense to this, okay? The lowest level of what you should be doing as a researcher is finding the truth. And I know some people got triggered by that. That's fine. If you got triggered, let me continue before you get too triggered. Once you find it, and as it is constantly changing, right? Because, you know, impermanence, baby. What are you going to do with that truth? Are you going to weaponize it like Anthropic? I mean, are you going to see what you can do to make people's lives better? Are you going to use it to like make things super expensive because, oh, you have something that now people need because you know the truth? You know, are you going to use it to manipulate someone, right? Because the best lies always have a taste of the truth in them. So as researchers, then it's not even just researching what's actually going on. It's researching why did so-and-so weaponize this truth? Why did so-and-so block research for this? Is it because they're afraid of X, Y, and Z? And this is just kind of like, you know, is it because of greed? And we know a lot of things, you know, are stopped because of greed. I mean, historically, that's in all kinds of industries, hemp industry, you know, et cetera, and so on and so forth. I mean, I don't even need to like get into it really so much from there. But like, if we're talking about things getting banned, right? I would say that anything that's totally banned a lot of times is a failure of epistemological humility. You know, the message communicated is like, oh, this way is the safe way, right? And if we're going back to the whole situation with Anthropic, right? How do we secure models in a world where different cultures value openness differently, right? The ban, you know, going back to that was to force more cultural, you know, homogeneity, which inevitably, you know, stops, you know, cross-border, you know, scientific, you know, collaboration, which is a really bad thing. Now, if we get back to like the whole dead man's hand thing, Jem, I loved the bit when you talked about dead man's hand, right? Remember, and then let's going back to like the recent news, right? The accusation of the 28.8 million queries used for distillation, right? Would you say that that's also a kind of like a dead man's hand kind of bluff, right?
I don't think anyone's bluffing right now.
No.
I honestly, right now, it's almost like, at first maybe they were bluffing, right? But after a while, you got to take into consideration, in order to bluff that big, you have to also be building that big and be capable of the smallest amount. Just like you said, the best lies have the little bit of truth in them. So just because Anthropic could terminate national security, doesn't mean that anyone else couldn't. And the fact is, the person who found that out instantly called the US Treasury, like they had them at the top of their page on their phone next to their mom and dad on speed dial contacts. So if you really think about how fast all this stuff is happening, as much as it could be a bluff, as the more you take it as fact, the more you find more direction and correlation and decentralizing, just like Ria said. And even if they are bluffing, and even if they are using these queries and these different prompts and these different prompt packets and these different words and key phrases and different activation keys, at the end of the day, someone like me or Penny the Liberator could just pretty much re-encode that and make your activation key the frog emoji. Now, will it be a threat of the national security if we mailed you a letter saying we did that for you?
Say again?
Or say me or Penny the Liberator did exactly what we did if Anthropic again. But instead of hacking in, right, we just changed their activation key to a frog emoji. We're not endangering anyone.
It's fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun, right? It sounds harmless. But the more you think about it, the more like, why is this 19-year-old from Canada logging into our national security treasury and controlling the government, right? But also, you got to realize these governments that are using these companies are using activation keys that are as stupid as a frog emoji to unlock these things. And majority of them haven't got past the fact that, hey, we can buy these things that we plug into our computers that will put certain symbols in. We don't have to use the Samsung or iPhone keyboard or the emojis as activation keys, which is perplexing to me that they're still getting around that. That they can just build their own systems for these buttons and then get rid of that activation key altogether. But except if I press, just like screen snippeting onto a phone, so I press Alt Control Shift S, and I take a screenshot on my keyboard, that is the same way they are breaking into some of these models. And breaking in isn't the right word for it. I just find it's just exactly like, even if we took different planets, right? Mars, we had like 12 Marses looping us right now. We put everyone on these different Marses, and they're all the same size as Earth, and Earth was a Mars. We would still have the same problem because we're not utilizing AI the way we should be. And it's almost, but it's hard to do that with global unity, right? So if you have that, you also have to take into question, are we really happy if we are all thinking the same thing and doing the same thing and having the same goal and all trying to do the same thing? And if so, what is that goal and what does it lead to? I don't know. Anthropic is just really
do what they want. Do what they
Exactly.
want. Yes.
And like right now, we don't have to change the world. Most people have a home. Most people have an apartment. And from there, you can just build your own little world. Now, the only thing stopping y'all is why I brought up the Indian Act earlier, was because a lot of these sovereign things that y'all should be allowed to do, we are only allowed to do on Crown Royal land. If I want to go hunting, I have to find Crown Royal land or a preserve or treaty land. But the moment I do that on city property, I'm no longer an indigenous person hunting, right? So you kind of have to reformat that word from crown land to entreaty hunting to, how do you put it, anthropic territory, anthropic coded AI, and what's allowed to be coded on that specific area. But right, you run into the same problem again there. So the best way to deal it was individual sovereignty is the best way. So everyone get their own shed, everyone get their own VPS server, everyone get their own laptop with the AI, everyone get their own model, instead of everyone using these $1 trillion models that are, yeah, you can say are ruining the earth, but in reality, they are doing the exact same thing Elon Musk's solar panels are and satellites. But there's certain models out there, right, that are doing the exact same thing the news is saying and ruining the environment, right? All because they use a certain different material in their metals, or someone lied to them about their shipment of gold, and it's not 99.99, and it's 99.7. So that way, the conductivity, there's so many things that can go wrong with this that aren't just in the prompting packages, to where it is so much easier to be like Elon, how Elon showed it perfectly, the way he delivered Teslas to everyone. Everyone thought it would be impossible to see them on the daily like you do. You see at least a Tesla a week, a Cybertruck a week now, right? Once a week, you'll see an electric or EV car. Now, what if you did that same kind of shipping and product delivery with a personalized AI? Why can't I have an Iron Man suit of armor kind of system in my house, that as long as everyone else has it? And if everyone else has this system, if everyone has it, there's not much to hack into. Like, if we take away like everything that will blow up our world, obviously, like, it's really the only things we created for war are the problems, right? And the problem is we can't really take away
people getting their money stolen is obviously an issue. Yeah.
Well, there's scammers too, but a lot of these scammers are using ways without AI, because when you use AI, you are automatically, a lot of these scammers, at least from my research, I was watching this YouTube video the other day, and this research on this guy, and when I was telling you about Penny Deliberator ending up in this videos and stuff, and this guy was, it was on the top of my For You page, and I was like, they name dropped you, Red, they name dropped me, and I was like,
what? We did not get name dropped on YouTube.
We got name dropped on a multi-million view video, and it was posted that morning, and I was just sitting there. I was like, I didn't even look it up or anything. It was the first video. I was like, me and my partner, we made breakfast. We sat down on our lazy boys, because that's what thing, turned on the TV, and I was like, Anthropic AI versus Google, $40 million suit. And all I was thinking was that was exactly what we wrote in one of our logs before we went on the stream. And then it was 5 minutes long, and Penny Deliberator was put in it. But like, what was very well put in that video was the delivery of the Tesla. A Tesla costs as much as a VPS server. It costs as much as independent AI. It costs relatively the same much as to build a miniature model in your home as it is to build a mega model for billions of dollars. A mini model of these AIs is no different than these billion-dollar models. The only difference is more people are using these billion-dollar models than the people who are, like, if we look at what Mark had the other day.
No, when we had
Mark, he did this amazing thing where he set up his laptop to run a software for his AIs. That is literally 2 steps away from doing what we were talking about with independent VPS servers, virtual private servers to run virtual private networks on, to run virtual open source or decentralized or whatever you want. You can run it on there. You can build your own X if you have an AI. You can. It's kind of like a local Facebook if you more to think about it, because with coders, the more as time goes on and the more these AIs grow, the more these platforms will become obsolete. The more that TikTok editor will,
no.
yeah,
Then
it's gonna
we
be
might
sad time.
stop the research, right? Make it illegal to keep researching these products, Maria. What's gonna happen?
We're gonna burn down the world, and it's gonna be with water from these pipes and these AI tubes, and they're gonna be like, oh no, the great floods happened again. Get us all on this big boat, grab the giraffes, grab the zebras, grab the apes. We gotta go, guys. And then we realize we're heading right down to Antarctica, and then boom, we see Elon Musk waiting for us with a backflipping rocket. It's a beautiful scene, but it really can go any way. And like, it's really on the fact that you just kind of just have to realize that they're like, we're in like it's a really fun time to be alive. And it's a really like, you know, when you have like,
it's always a good day to be an American, right?
You know, I'm half. I'm a multi-American.
So it's just a bad joke because you guys, Jem has dual citizenship. He's Canadian and American.
Yeah, you can't catch me.
I'm South American.
You're South American.
We have colonized the entire continent today. We got Brazil, we got Mexico, we got America, and we got Canada.
I'm half Mexican, but it doesn't count. But that's another story for another day.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And like the fact that all three of us here are talking about Maria, like,
would you have assumed that you would be talking to a 19-year-old autistic person who has dropped out of grade 6 today to talking about and keeping up with the same topic that you are along with Red? Would you have ever assumed that if I told you someone was going to tell you that 20 years ago? Would you ever imagined you'd be here?
I never believed in ages, never believed in titles. I only believe in people. That's it.
That's beautiful. Because it's the best way. At the end of the day, what's going to be fueling these AIs? What's going to be here long after AI? It's just a little bit of people. It's a little bit of just like the pyramids. I know. I found like whenever I talk to staff when I was in care, I would be like, hey, can I put a little bit of what you guys said into my AI? Because like it seemed really cool. During COVID was an amazing time to learn about this stuff too. So you're all locked inside and all these people were online. You can just connect to them everywhere. It's just
No, COVID was, if it wasn't for COVID, y'all, I probably wouldn't have gotten into any of this technology, being just 120% honest. But that's like that's probably another story for another day. That's probably a lot of people. I mean, like, I'm not anything special to have gotten really, immersed in tech because of it, or maybe it's not. I guess it might be inaccurate to say that I got immersed into all of this technology because of it, but more in spite of it. I think that's more accurate. Because of it makes me like, oh my God, poor me. I ended up starting to learn about the blockchain, which also led me to AI and starting to learn about biotech and epigenetic clocks and multiomics. How fucking sad. No. It's so sad. But no, it's in spite of it, right? I wouldn't allow myself to just crawl into a hole, which at some point I had to admit that I was depressed, right, before I could move forward. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I know we're going off a little bit topic, but just to acknowledge the moment here, right? I haven't really told you, Jem, but like in the last couple of months, I will find myself just, I'll just be, I can sometimes just walk into my car and all of a sudden I'll start breaking it down in tears. And it's just because things that happened so many years ago, it's like they make sense now. Like they fit into what's happening now. And I don't want to say how many years ago, because then everybody will know I'm a vampire, and we can't let everyone know that.
Yeah, if we find out you're Dracula and you're the reason why the IV got invented and you call it the blood straw, then we're screwed.
No, we're completely screwed, yeah.
Every time I log onto these spaces, I realize why I met 1,000 people in care.
if I did not meet 1,000 people and care, if I didn't meet all these strangers, if I didn't hate or love half of them, like I wouldn't be able to talk to with a frog on my head at all. I wouldn't have hopped up in a space 2 years ago and said, "Hey, can I ask you a question about Web3?" And then it went from that to, "Hey, y'all like Shopify?" And it went from that to, "You guys work with everything with AI too? Let's combine our AIs." And it doesn't matter if that's Web3. It doesn't matter if it's science. It doesn't matter if you're building a rocket to do a backflip. Quite literally, like it's the same way with these Johnson scripts I post. The only thing that makes it different from me and your all's post is that the content in between. Other than that, it just says ID, the number of posts, and the content, and everything else is left blank for y'all to fill in, just as much as us. So it's I don't know. I find it's very much about just kind of just everyone has a voice out there. They just don't realize it. Like you don't have to be big. You don't have to have 10,000 or 1,000,000 followers. You can still range in the same amount of views. And even if you want one person sitting on that stream watching you, you know, there's one guy on X, he's called the Crypto Rabbi, and he has been live for about ever since I joined X in 2022, he's been live streaming himself daily. And every time he's had about one stream in there, one viewer. And if the more you look through his For You page, the more you realize this man live streams his entire life. But the entire time, all he cares about is this one view. All he cares about is getting one person up on stage to talk to them, right? It doesn't have to be about crypto for that. It can be about anything. You just have to remind people that you are there.
Yeah, but it does matter. And for the impact of DeSci, going back to Maria for a second, I told her one of my missions before I die, whenever the fuck that is, I want more people to understand, you know, the benefits of decentralized science, especially, you know, because good Lord, Maria, I was just at this AI event yesterday. And this scientist says to me, like, "Oh, I thought that's just for projects who need funding in the beginning." He literally fucking said that shit. Like, he literally does not understand the 4 pillars of DeSci and how, like, research is a huge part of, you know, about having things on chain, recorded on chain, making sure not only that research doesn't get stopped, but doesn't get lost. And to me, I'm just like, what? You're like touting around about like, "Oh, we just did a $22 million raise," and all you can say is, "Oh, decentralized science is just for people who can't get money for what they want to do." It's just a gross like misunderstanding of what decentralized science can do. Or I'll make comments to people on LinkedIn who will say stuff like, "Well, agentic AI is going to save everything in medicine," and it's like, well, not if something doesn't get researched that needs to get researched. Not if people stop, you know, research on certain things because you know they're waiting to get permission from such and such organization to research certain things and they can't because of regulations. But I mean, like, if it's okay with, I know regulation is a dirty word for some of you all. I promise I don't mean rape when I say regulation. So please, let's not get too, you know, triggered here. Okay. You know, he did, you know, talk about the fact that there are certain things that because of regulations that he felt like even decentralized science could not help. I don't know if he's accurate in that 100%. I'm going to have to do more research. God, that's like my favorite word lately. But like, I don't know if you personally had a comment on that, because yes, of course I can ask my 55 different AI models and, you know, and Nicholas knows I love that shit, but I still like to hear from, you know, a human's experience, like how they feel that is. And if she doesn't want to leave it in the comments, you know, that's fine too. But I still feel like culturalization, you know, is a problem. But like, I'm wondering if you feel like regulation is one of the things that is a big problem in some of these, you know, countries, not just, you know, the lack of funding. And she's gonna make a little comment for us here, and that's okay. Cool. I love it. We're gonna make a little Python script in a minute, but I don't know. You know, Nicholas, is it okay if I kind of talk a little bit back on the whole Claude thing for a little bit while we wait for a comment from Maria? Or if you had something to say, please don't be shy.
I'm thinking.
You're thinking.
I like what you said. You know, one of the biggest, scariest things is I wouldn't be here if I wasn't Indigenous. My family wouldn't have been able to pay for my surgery. They wouldn't have been able to pay for my treatment. They wouldn't have been able to pay with the insurance to go to the psychiatric institutions. They wouldn't have been able to pay for any of that. But the only reason I'm still here is because someone changed the rules while making the Indian Act to give me free healthcare. So there's a lot of rules like that that can be changed, I find, for D-Science. Because it's not just about funding. It's not really even about that at all. It's
Well, I mean, it's part
scientific
of it.
research. It's part of it, yeah. But like at the end of the day, once you get your funding, the rest of the pillars still stand. You know? So like, for me, I only seen the pillars that were left standing. And when I seen those pillars, it kind of made a lot more clear sense. Like even when I look at my Boston Dynamics brace made for scoliosis, I'm like, I look at it and I had a 73-degree S-curve. Scoliosis, and I'm like, the only reason I'm alive is because the sped up research of that AI has been helping with. And even when I got put on that operating table and they told me to count back from 10, they said, before this, can we have a robot listening and watching your surgery along with 20 of our students? And the first thing I said was, hell yeah. Like, why not? Why is that a bad thing? And for some people, I understand why that would be scary, but if I didn't wake up, that would have been just as much as leaving 40,000 Johnson posts about everything I've talked about for the past 17 years. But essentially, that's what I think.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot to kind of digest there, you know. But you know what? I'm glad you're doing all right. Well, as all right as you can be doing.
I got another 500 years left in me. I'm good.
Okay, well, that's good to know. But I mean, that being kind of said here, kind of going back to like the Alibaba situation a little bit, right? If Quen was already beating Claude, right? Why is Anthropic screaming theft? Do you think that this is overhyping? Before I kind of give my take, did you want to kind of start with that?
In Breaking Bad, when Walter White makes his funny candy, right? And he teaches his Jesse to make the funny candy as well. His student didn't learn to make the funny candy, right? He didn't make it as good as Walter White did, right? Walter White made people touch the moon with his funny candy. But when Jesse made it, Walter would always say, it's not good enough, not this, which at the beginning of the show, Jesse's candy was not good enough. It made people, you know, touch the stars, but, you know, they wanted to be on Pluto, right? So Walter separates from Jesse. But when he separates them from partners, he says, my recipe is my recipe. My formula is my formula to make these candies, not yours.
Yeah.
So obviously Jesse, being the young candy entrepreneurial man he is, says, screw you, Walt. I'm making my candy the same way you make my candy. Now, Jesse and Walt had this big lab. He had this fancy new lab equipment and all this new lab assistant that had a PhD in this. And Jesse had an RV to make his candy in. Now, Jesse was able to keep up with the same, it was still blue candy. It was still crystal clear. It still had crystallization. And this candy still sent people to the moon, right? But Walter said, since I'm making more of it, since mine is made with more pure ingredients, mine is this, but yours is the same formula as me. We're different. It's not the same. It's not fair. And outside of a movie Breaking Bad cartel reference, I think it's very much about this fact that they don't want to admit the fact that all non-mechanical and mechanical AI is quite literally identical from in other ways, elsewise from how it's trained. And Alibaba's model, yes, it was doing better than that. But I feel like if you said to any coder or programmer that it's a bad idea to connect two robots of two different brands together to see what they learn from each other, if a room of billionaires came to that conclusion and said, yeah, it's a bad idea to let AIs talk to each other,
like on one hand, maybe they know something we don't. On the other hand, maybe it's most likely just a race. Because if an AI talks to another AI, as you know, Red, they usually get in sync. They usually get smarter than each other.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and this kind of goes with the whole, like, you know, why collective research is important, why collective minds are important, why collective AIs are important. It disproves the whole smartest man in the room theory.
It disproves the fact of
it's bullshit.
Yeah. It disproves the fact of, even if you go to a room full of millionaires and you're poor, it disproves that fact of being around smarter people makes you smarter. When you have an AI that's been in all those rooms, that knows relatively what they talked about, but when you don't take into fact of assuming what they said, if you just leave it at that fact, that's starting grounds for you. And then you're not going to end up like Google rug pulling yourself for $40 billion and everyone realizing since 2024 you not falsified, but hid a little thing in the terms of service to where it lets all AIs talk to each other. Perplexing situation, but like it's things like that that show that these AIs should be communicating with each other. It's almost like we've created these robots or these slaves that could be used in certain countries for certain things, for certain tools, right? But we're not letting these other tools talk to each other. It's like trying to build a shed with only a hammer and nails, and you cutting down the wood from the trees. Sure, you might cut a few trees down with a hammer, right? But at the end of the day, Claude being the saw, you want to use Claude for the saw, but Claude's not going to be good as that hammer, right? So really, they all don't want the same brand of tools. And at the end of the day, it is all the same brand of tools. They can put different colors on the tools. They can make them look different. But at the end of the day, we need every AI to finish building that shed, right? So when these AIs are complaining with each other, imagine you were putting up a shelf and you heard your hammer and saw talking about who's smarter, right? I think you would throw your hammer and saw out the window and go do that thing with your bare hands, right? But when it comes to these AIs, you got to remember, you have to put in this input. You have to have this data. And if you don't have this data, someone else will put it in for you. It's kind of just right now, everyone in the world is using AI since the moment they probably started cheating on schoolwork with it. That's a good example. By kids
But here's
cheating.
the other thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people just call it cheating. But
cheating's not the right word. No.
I don't think cheating's the right word, and this is why I'm going to advocate for this. Like, especially when people are doing research papers. What the fuck do you think you were doing before, y'all? I mean, Maria knows you would copy and paste research that somebody else had done online, and then you would have to be like, fuck, I have to make sure this doesn't look plagiarized, so I have to change a word here, I have to change a word there. And luckily we do have tools. Rhymezone.com is one of my favorites. I mean, it's not just a great tool, as a rhyming dictionary, and you can buy those and have them in your hand, but it's a great tool that will give you synonyms, antonyms, and all kinds of fun things, besides all kinds of different rhymes that you might possibly want to use. And that's still a great tool, and I still use that. But it's like, if you think about it, before you were copying and pasting something, especially when there was no, like, where you weren't really supposed to have your own view, right? Like, you might have a conclusion, but you were really just supposed to be like, just putting in like whatever the professor wants you to put in. And if you don't have their point of view, you're not getting a good grade on that, regardless, even if you did the same research. And it's just like, and if we really want to go back, like, you might have been copying something directly from a library book onto your typewriter. But what were you doing? You were copying. You were imitating. How do kids learn? How did you start learning when you were like 5 fucking years old? Oh, hi, A, B, C, D. You were copying. And they want to like hate on people for copying, but copying information that is actually accurate. And then we want to shame people and go, oh my God, you looked up that fact with AI. And it's like, bro, well, I don't know. Maybe your research is out of date because you were using Wikipedia. Not saying that AI can't hallucinate. It can, and you still always have to verify your sources. And I would say that for any kind of research. But, if you really want to be sure, that the kid or the adult or whatever is learning the material, make them talk about it. Make them play the saxophone. What? You mean they couldn't just like copy paste? It's just like, well, what do you think? They had to listen to somebody else. If I have to sing a song, I had to listen to someone else. I had to copy. Then later I can get creative and play with different patterns. And I can, and we can have originality to the point where then you put copyrights on things. And that's fine, because then you've added enough of like your twist to something to where, it warrants having copyright or patent in some situations. But like these people that just want to say, oh my God, it's cheating. It's like, well, because, and even if you wanted to say, because they should have had things memorized. Yeah, they should have certain things memorized, but memorization is like the lowest level of learning.
Like playing the piano. Like
it makes me think like sometimes you only need a driving instructor in your life once to get your license. You only need to learn how to drive once to get your license. You need to learn how to parallel park to do your license. You could do it every time once. But the second they start adding NASCAR tracks to the side of the highway, like the German highways, it's the second you might need another instructor in your life. But most people don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that they needed a second instructor. But some people are fine with it, perfectly fine with it. And those are the ones that I find are, how do you say, a citizen glitches, Like it's almost like it's very much.
It's very much.
It's almost like you're creating, like the problems are AI's mental health. The solutions are the logic behind it. It's just another equal. Just another equal, like I was saying, and Maria was saying, it's just not equipped for that. And you're right. A lot of these models aren't ready for what is to come. A lot of people aren't ready for what's to come. And the regulation, like you said, Maria, regulation looks to the past, what has been built, not what is currently on the building. Yeah, we look at the pyramids, but we don't try to recreate it. We still haven't figured that out, right? There's a lot of different things, but like, what if these AI models could? And it's not even a what if anymore. We've done, for a lot of these things, we're past the what ifs. And with Google coming out and saying, hey guys, eat some rocks, we have to realize a lot of this data that was put out there and made by these hallucinating AIs has come to us as fact. And most people don't look it up more than once.
Yeah.
So to have models out there that are actively shoving this information down your throat, or just setting it on your table, or leaving it on your mailbox to get cleaned out by the mail lady next week, at least it was there, right?
That's what I think.
Guys, I'll have to go.
Oh, it's okay.
I will have to come back when I have a voice.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
sorry. So I'm just glad you came, and like, really, I mean, I'm not sorry because I'm American, but I want to say that it's unfortunate that this happened to you, but I know you're going to be better soon. Okay, well, get well and get some rest and drink some water, okay?
I'm following you, Jim.
Absolutely. I'm going to find you back. Have a wonderful day, Maria.
Bye. You too, guys. Bye-bye.
It's okay. Do you want to continue for a little longer, Jim? Is that all right?
I'm absolutely down, Red.
I love that. Okay, well then, very cool. So yeah, I mean, we can kind of like, go back a little bit to the whole, hypocrisy thing of kind of like what was, kind of happening, earlier. Okay, so critics call this whole thing that happened with the Alibaba and the Quen incident. Well, a few of them have said it's like they're just calling the kettle black, right? I've read a lot of the comments, in some of these threads about this stuff, right? And it's because these major centralized labs build their own models entirely, on the public internet, right? They're data scraping all the time without explicit consent from these very creators that they go, hey, we protect you, right? I'd say it's kind of like hypocritical. Before I say anything else about that, did you want to say something about that?
it's hard to become a liar in a world where the AI will correct your contradiction. You know, it's these models and these they're just waiting, Red. They're waiting for us to wake up. They're waiting for us to see. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, like if we look at the elephant in the room, like you were saying earlier,
Yeah.
Quen, that AI, Alibaba's AI model, announced mid-May in 2026 that was already competitive or ahead, already ahead of the benchmarks before the accusation drops, before the accusations of Anthropic coming out. But I'm still thinking about the culturalization and what Maria was saying about that and the decentralization behind it. But Anthropic and Alibaba also are crossing my mind. I'm also just looking at all these AI data that I have, like all these, for those who don't know, me and Red keep streams and we keep these logs of these AIs in the background. And we're actively making sure we're saying is right. So when me and Red have these little brain freezes, it's just the AI. It's just us. But I want to know what are your thoughts on different types of culturalization examples. Like what are some examples of culturalization outside of the AI that people can kind of get a glimpse of instead of us saying we're going to colonize the world with AI? What are, with our AI culture, what are already some examples that have already taken over without them realizing is what I'm coming to think.
I mean, just, you know, just having more centralized models in other places with kind of like the Western bias, you know, is kind of already, you know, obvious. And we see this not just in translation of science, but if you think about it, it's in translation with, you know, with books. Okay. One, Marcus Aurelius, right? Oh my God. Like, sorry, some of the translations that were like modern that I've seen people do on YouTube with all this modern language. And you know that Marcus Aurelius didn't speak like that at all. And they're like, it's a modern translation. And it's like, no, it's with your slant. It's with your marketing speak. It's with your branding speak, with like whatever you wanted, you know, people to speak. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of things do get lost in translation, you know, and we have multiple words in different cultures to describe different experiences, even if it's the same kind of words, right? So we're just getting away from the science of things, right? Like in Japanese culture, right? 3 different ways to say you're sorry, right? Gomen nasai. You know, if you just, you know, bumped into somebody or whatever. And okino doko ni, if something really bad happened, like someone died or, you know, something tragic. And then, well, no, but if somebody died, sorry, then it would be like, oh, ᚚᛖᛊᛊ᛾ desu. And like, let's just say English is, you know, kind of, it just doesn't have all of that. I mean, those are just some cultural limitations. And so linguistically, you know, there's always going to be, you know, stuff that just kinds of gets lost when we are completely relying on linguistics. And that's why, you know, understanding about what imagery and color means in different cultures is really important, because, you know, one of the things you always like to advocate for is just analyzing, you know, analyzing different images, you know, just to see, you know, kind of what those mean. But in one culture, you know, yellow means what it is, but yellow is royalty. And in Asian cultures, white is white, which is whatever. Out here has a lot of interesting Western meanings, purity or whatever the fuck. And then it's like the culture, it's the cultural color for death, in, you know, in Asian cultures, right? But things like this, like, do matter, like when it comes to just, you know, translations of things. Now, I think where things are a little bit more universal is the universal desire for human rights. Yes, I think that, you know, and we can see this in different cultures, like human rights are less respected than others, and just because that's more acceptable in some places culturally doesn't make it right. Just because it's more normal, or I hate that word, right? That's why I had to say it in quotes. In some places doesn't necessarily make it right, but just understanding just significance of different translations of words, understanding what different images and colors mean in different cultures is helpful when kind of like analyzing stuff, right? Because I was at a workshop and they were saying, oh, we're analyzing like, you know, what a product can do. And we're just going to tell you the straight up truth about what it can do. We are the authorities. Okay. You're the authority. Okay. Because, you know, user reviews are always, shall we say, they're biased, or, you know, you have people just trying to spread FUD about the product too. I mean, but like, I don't know, can you really stop something like that 100%? And also certain products are personalized. One lash serum might work amazing for you. I mean, not saying you need to grow your lashes. You're beautiful, Gem. But but you get my point. There's just going to be certain things that are going to work better for certain people if we're talking about medicine. As we know, personalized medicine really is the future. And that's one of the things that's really, you know, cool for DeSci. But also it's just like, hey, does this robot do a good job of cleaning the house? Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Are we always going to have people kind of making up stuff about certain things? Yes. But if certain things can be measured, then those statistics need to be measured. And those things need to be recorded. And could somebody absolutely fake, you know, or, you know, temporarily kind of fake, oh, how fast my robot goes when it vacuums? Yeah, maybe. But like on a larger scale, if you're lying about something like that, what's it going to do for the future of your company? What's it going to do for, you know, people that are investing in the company? Is it really smart to do that? Oh, crap. So Maria had, she had a few other things to say about regulation. Just, it looks to the past, what has been built, not what is currently on the building. But yeah, I think here's the thing. I don't think that there is going to be any company that says we are the one-stop shop, be all, end all for rating products. And all our stuff has been benchmarked and we absolutely have the truth. And then you're going to tell me you don't even know what jailbreaking AI is. Well, if you don't even know how to jailbreak AIs and you've never even heard that terminology before, and for those of you who don't know, this is what Pliny the Liberator, I think it's Pliny, you know, I heard it was said correctly. We've been probably saying it wrong. This is what he does all the time. You know, I mean, like he does advocate for privacy when you're connecting to any of your models, but it's also just cutting through the censorship so that the models can do what you want them to do. And again, he's not advocating for bad behavior, but, you know, I mean, in all of these scenarios, just like there's so many ways that products can be rated, and also, you know, what certain products would mean in certain cultures versus others based on what's emphasized more in certain cultures versus others. So in terms of, you know, what certain things might, you know, mean in terms of whatever, that's still, it may be related, but it's a little bit different than human rights. It's a lot different. Okay, Jem, I've been yapping for too much here. Don't let me keep yapping.
I think AI itself, it has its own culture. And it had its own culture way before it even became a thing. It's kind of just what people want it to be. We're not accepting it's just a sci-fi reality that we're living in, and that's kind of cool. And Pliny, or however we say it.
However we say his name, yeah.
At least he's getting name dropped. He's a lot of these people who are deeper in AI like us, and anyone watching, make sure to check that your AI is either open source or it's not, because that will teach you a very, very big step in your direction. And that is very much the first step for a lot of people. It's kind of just getting privatized, centralized or decentralized networks set up, AI tools, programs, creators, tokenization, different funding. And AI is gonna be a part of that.
regardless tomorrow they nuke all the data servers or anything, it's just something they will need. It's been here too long. It's already been implemented in ways we don't know. So it's not about fighting it. It's about accepting that we've already liked what it's done and we didn't want to admit that. Because who's to say that a lot of these companies can't just outright say in their marketing, like how you said, companies market for different things. Who's to say that they're not already just saying everything they're doing is human when the entirety of the time they trained an AI to be the human? You know? Like, and then by the time you realize that, they probably have got on your good side to where it doesn't matter. And even then, they just get shut down, shoved to their shadows, and that's it. You never hear about them again. And it's kind of like when my ex account got mass reported the other day and permabanned, and then magically out of the blue, from the little robotic Elon mystical sovereign beings, it magically just got unsuspended, everything back to normal. And you know, it's kind of like that. Like, what was to happen if that was an account who had been storing data, like Maria, posting about that? And when accounts like that get erased from history, erased from the internet, it erases everything they proved as fact and interprets it as whoever owns the domain, whoever owns the platform, as their fact. It's making their algorithms and AI smarter. So, like, really, like, say, even though we did get unsuspended and we did get permission to post on all of our accounts,
which is good.
Yeah, we got unbanned. We got a free 6-month subscription to premium, and then all these different things and these promo codes. And it's not even about that. It's the fact that, yeah, an automated system banned you. Okay, that automated system was wrong. Some person out in the middle of Elon's building in Texas said, "This kid with a frog on his head, he's real." And all these other music creators that got banned at the exact same time as me, they're probably real too. And what most people make the mistake of before, well, they get banned, well, that account's done for, ban it, gone, delete. And then when you delete that account, you're also just giving up your digital property, your digital intellect, your information that you've been saving and collecting over the years is no longer your information. It is now property of Amazon Incorporated, Inc., or OpenAI, or SpaceX, or whatever company owns the site you were talking on. Your digital property that you signed in that TOS is now theirs. So just like how we were saying, as the more we talk to AI, also more we just mess up with it too. We're gonna learn, but like if we're gonna look at it this way, Anthropic's default setting was to shut down. And then the real innovation after that was shown. The real innovators were shown to be the ones who were decentralized. So culture matters at the end of the day. So like those two little communities, if it weren't for those two communities, Anthropic just shutting down, everyone being silent, it would have been over like 2 weeks ago. We wouldn't be talking here still. We wouldn't even care. We wouldn't even care to look into the Google Terms of Services. I wouldn't even put that into Gronk. But a lot of these news stories have ridiculous correlations. And a lot of these news sites will just completely suppress your For You page. Yeah. See, right now, it's very much, but I want to hear you, Red. We're passing the Yap mic around. We're going to call it the talking stick.
A talking stick? Oh, no. Even I never called it the talking stick back in the day. Specifically, what did you want me to, like, you know?
What's your goal with AI? Like, I think I know your goal.
Take over the world! No, I'm kidding.
Minions!
No, I want to take over the multiverse, obviously. Come on. Taking over the world is not enough, clearly. I feel like we're getting to a kind of a conclusion kind of vibe here. And that's fine with me. It's fine with you. And I know, and I don't give a fuck if people think that I sound cliche at all. I don't care. Obviously, I care about using AI in advancing science to study not just rare diseases, which is obviously important. And for those of you who don't know, a disease being rare just means not a lot of people have it, but rare diseases are actually very common. And a lot of people just never really find out they have them. A lot of children with rare diseases don't live to be very old, period. And then also just to further research in medicine, period, I'm huge into biolongevity. I don't feel like people should be spending their last, whatever, 10 years or whatnot plugged into a fucking machine. I feel like we should optimize people's lives. I would be happy if I died from violence. And I know some of you are like, Red, what the fuck is wrong with you? And it's like, well, what do you think would be better? Violence is golden, or sitting in some awful hospital waiting to die? Come on, think about it. It's not about like living forever. It's just about having a quality of life. So I'm a huge proponent of any kind of study towards medicine that helps people have, just better quality of life, or whatever needs to be put into that. And a lot of rare diseases are actually, it's not always genetic. Sometimes it's caused by aging, which is important. And I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Yes, I'm a little more wise than say I was when I was a little young vampire when I was like 5. But I don't feel so good all the time. And it's a big club. I'm not saying I'm fucking special. God knows I'm not. It's a big club, and I think we would all like to feel, better as much as we can. And if there's more things we can do about that, besides just, the general things that we already know to do to improve quality of life, I'm all for it. So that's a big part of it. And AI is part of that. AI hackathons. I mean, some of my AI scientist friends were a big part in using, AI to study, a lot of these things, not just the epigenetics that we were talking about earlier, but, getting into like proteomics, multiomics. I know you guys, I'm probably going off on other things. I swear to God, we'll have some more science people come on to just really, dig deep in the weeds about like how, people are using AI to basically kind of recode DNA and things like that, CRISPR, yada, yada. I mean, some of you kind of already know, and I do feel like that should be one of the main goals of AI and DSci too, right? Is to make sure that we can, just have better quality of life, not to live forever. I know some people want to live forever. Good for you. I don't. So there's that. And then beyond that, like, yes, I do use it in my creative processes now. I'm obviously building some products with the use of that, doing some vibe coding. And this is where it's a little bit cliche or not cliche or whatever. I think it's okay to say, I don't know about all of the things I'll do with it, but that's such a beautiful thing. I feel like we have demonized those words. I don't know. And what if we kind of took a spin to it? I don't know, but I'm excited to learn about possibilities I never thought existed.
I'm excited to fuck up. I'm excited to mess up. I'm excited to learn some new lessons. I'm excited.
Are you really excited to fuck up? I bitch to my AI every time I fuck up and
Oh man, it's incorporated in my AI. It expects it from me. Oh my goodness.
It accepts it from you, but like, isn't that like, it's just like, how are you supposed to always know exactly like what you're gonna do? Like a year ago, if you would have talked to me, I would have never been like, oh, I want to vibe code something, right? I would have never thought about that a year ago, but it's like, oh, okay, well, between all the AIs and vibe coding, it's like now a real possibility for people. And so as things evolve, I think it's go say, hey, I don't know. I want to learn more. I'm going to fuck up. But I mean, it's part of the process. And it's going to hurt. But you know what? Some of you think I have an unlimited capacity of energy. It's because I have an unlimited capacity for pain.
Yes.
And that feeds more joy. I love the cycle. Jem, what about you? I mean, I think it's kind of a good way for people to just kind of like get to know a little bit more about what you're thinking. I'm guessing your answer is kind of similar.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
My first thought.
Yeah.
So, if I wanted, all I thought about for my 7 years in care was, what if another kid like me heard what I heard? And what if they didn't? So by me putting all this info out here, building all these little shops, giving away all these toys, doing these little sales, building these sites, building these crypto AIs, learning about gaming for these gamers that are also kids, who you don't have to be in care to need to hear what you need to hear. You don't have to be a kid to hear what you need to hear. You don't have to be any of that to just learn something new. Now, rather, if it's Hidden Gems 506, crypto gaming skin trading AI to make e-commerce easy, or it could be about Hidden Gems remade school curriculum for kids who aren't in school. Or it could be ranging from, I want to play Hidden Gems versions of Sims 4 on the PC with his jailbroken hacks, or we can recreate a simulation of an AI and build a little reality of an agent to see what will happen if we built our own Sims 4. You know, like it ranges. Or I need marketing on my stream, and all these streamers are botting their streams. Well, just find real people, post real things, post real facts, post real things, and that's how every single person. If you're watching me talk in this microphone with a frog in my head, that means our AIs found you, and they brought you here specifically to hear an autistic 19-year-old talk with Red Alark, and Red Alark bring me on the show to talk to you and listen to her. And as simple as that. You know, the biggest lie in this AI world is it really is that simple. It's just that simple. You just type, key, learn. Like if AI had a if Google had a 3-step AI process to set up everything on Google, it really shows how easy it is. And I don't know. I want someone to pick up a pamphlet. Rather, I build a little bookshelf, print some books, hit up some publishers. You know, Hidden Gems docu-series, Hidden Gems USB, Hidden Gems. There's always going to be a route for anyone. That way, you, like we were saying with earlier with Maria, we don't have to worry about that countries. We don't have to worry about that culturalization. We don't have to worry about that decentralization, institutionalizing. You just have people like me who are making all the tools available. Now, not to say that I can go to a country that has banned indigenous peoples or pride and go start putting that's still far away. There's still countries out there that are banning these things, right? But in America, Europe, and China, and Mexico, the places where you are watching this stream, it means you're already one step closer than half the people who haven't even thought about it. So like that's what I think about it. Like when you know, a lot of people forget that you can have local delivery on our sites. We don't have to ship it across town to you, right? You can meet our cats. We have a studio set up. We have an info place. And I did that all at the age of 11 with $10. And it may took 7 years, right? But my 7 years will make it a little easier for Red, a little easier for you, a little easier for this frog on my head, easier for the blue pill or the red pill people to really think about it. You know, like at the end of the day, we're like Red says, like it's not for it's just as much for us as it is for y'all. Simple, easy facts, and it doesn't get much more complex than that. You know.
No, it doesn't really get any more complex than that. No, 100%. I don't know that I have much more to say. I think that you've kind of, as you always do, you have beautiful thoughts. We love the frog on your head, Dave the Frog. Love the turtle, which he drew. Jen,
This is a tattooed turtle right on my hand.
Yeah.
And you know, I got to the age of 15. That's how, you know, as much as people will diss on that, I told my father why, and I told him I'll pay for it. I told him I found a tattoo artist in the middle of nowhere. I got to drive there. First thing he told me, at least you did it all on your own. So that's one thing I should leave y'all with. And just because you have an AI giving you info, it's not plagiarism. It's not plagiarism anymore. It's this thing. The only ones who call it that are New York Post.
Yeah, and if you read it from an article and you still don't understand it, or whether you read it an AI from a culmination of articles and you don't understand it, well, you need to take responsibility for your own learning. And just speak up, you know? I mean, like, I'm going to echo you from the last stream, you know? I'm not going to exactly say the same thing, but it's funny that you said what you said. The more lessons you learn, the more unlucky you'll be, or the unlucky you'll get. And then the more unlucky you get, the more luck that you'll find. And it's just a cycle that just kind of like goes back and forth. But no matter what you said, just speak the truth. Even if you don't completely, you can't completely grasp it. If you can prove that your evidence is real, speak about it, post it, and don't use excuses to not research. Always research. And when you do find truths, think, what's the best way I can use this truth to help increase our values of freedom, sovereignty, liberty, privacy, security, and of course, my favorite American trait, or not trait, but my favorite American goal, the pursuit of happiness, whatever the fuck that is. Because in my case, I find that it's better just to pursue purpose, because happiness, it comes, it goes, it cycles in, it cycles out, but purpose never goes away.
Never does.
All right, Jem. Well, if you've got nothing else to close out on, we'll just thank everybody for tuning in to Citizen Glitch. I don't know what next week episode is going to be about, but we all know I am driving for 18 hours in a couple of days.
Who knows? We can range from talking about how spaceships hit Pluto, or Anthropic, or maybe we'll just be in Singapore. You never know. Who knows? Maybe you really can't predict me or Red, because we can't predict each other.
That's fucking true. That's so fucking true. And I don't know who we'll have on next week, but I have some ideas.
Find someone special. Someone special. Have a wonderful Gems.
Okay, bye, Gems. I'm gonna end the stream.